Langara Voice.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us on The Voice TV. I'm Hazel Love.
And I'm Sage Smith. Coming up tonight, Vancouver voters are preparing to head to the polls for both municipal and federal elections. We speak to city residents and potential candidates to hear their thoughts about what's to come.
And as the sun comes out in Vancouver this week, people aren't the only ones flocking to Stanley Park. The park is celebrating the Herons returning for the 25th year. We'll have more on that later.
Traveling to the U.S. was once routine for many Canadians, but in the current political climate, there's nothing routine about it. As Juan Diaz reports, some travelers are taking pause before crossing into the U.S.
If you're non-American, it's gonna be a problem.
With warmer weather in the forecast, it's time for planning summer vacations. For some, they are now reconsidering changing their travel plans.
But people that were in planning stages or tentative planning are no longer really looking at the U.S. as a primary option unless there's nothing else that really fits what they're looking for.
It's not just by plane, also for people who are planning road trips over the summer.
Not really. I think just once I got stopped with my friends when we were crossing the border, and then they had to search our vehicle.
Many connecting flights go through the U.S. before your real final destinations. Air travelers should be prepared to have a layover in the U.S.
Yeah, we stayed there just for the connection, but like a 12-hour connection in Atlanta.
We had a large cruise group of about 35 people that were looking at a Caribbean cruise. They would have had to go from Vancouver to Miami, and the cruise would have left from there.
In newly published data from StatsCan, from Canada to US, land border crossings were down on average of 28.7% in February and 42.73% in March, year over year.
Also, people are feeling a little scared to travel to the U.S. People that are going as visitors getting detained, maybe they're real, maybe they're not, but people are still just scared and they don't want to take any risks. The more proof you have, the better, and printed is definitely better. Once you hand over that phone to show them, they may go through your phone for other things, and they're legally allowed to refuse you entry if you refuse them your phone. And if you're already handing them your phone to show them your hotel confirmation or your airline confirmation, it's just easier for them to just continue going through your phone, and all of a sudden you get refused entry.
Reporting from YVR Airport, Vancouver, I'm Juan Diaz Lopez, Langara Voice.
While schools across Canada are celebrating the end of the semester, many are turning their attention to the upcoming federal election. Oksana Storin spoke with members of the UBC community to hear their thoughts on the current political climate.
The Food Truck Festival is sizzling here at UBC campus today, and The Voice is here to check the temperature during an unprecedented federal election campaign. Climate change came up again and again. For many, it's the most urgent challenge facing Canada today.
I think generally, climate issues, I think that climate often gets passed off as, it turns into marketing, kind of. And so, things get, greenwashed. And when you hear Polyev talk about, we need to govern water with common sense, water systems are so complicated. That's why people study these things.
A few people mentioned the importance of Canada's relationship with the United States.
In a perfect world, my main issues would be environment, sustainability. Unfortunately, the state of the world as it is right now and what we have to deal with from just south of the border can't actually risk splitting of votes right now.
Others raise concerns about Canada's role on the international stage, especially when it comes to the conflict in Gaza.
I obviously care about international human rights and Canada's place in that, and the way that we fund foreign institutions and militaries and weapons companies overseas. It's a big deal. Housing is a huge deal, but I am very disillusioned with our state of governance right now.
Some voters also say reconciliation with Indigenous peoples remains unfinished business.
We hear more and more of these threats to Canadian sovereignty. We're more likely to forget our trespasses and our obligations to reconciliation.
Oksana Storin, Langara Voice.
Do journalists make good politicians? On the eve of a by-election, Philomena Okolo and Coralie Nicars talked to a city councillor who made the transition from reporting on policy to creating it, and another candidate who hopes to do the same.
Morning.
Tomorrow is the Vancouver by-election, and CURB candidate Sean Orr is in the West End, campaigning with federal NDP candidate Avi Lewis. But they have more in common than just policies. Both Orr and Lewis are journalists.
I didn't go to journalism school per se. I actually dropped out of UBC and just started blogging.
More and more journalists are popping up in politics. Vancouver City Councillor Peter Mesner studied at BCIT. He says that being trained as a journalist is extremely helpful.
Understanding how media works, I think, is really valuable for me.
But according to Mesner, just because you are a journalist doesn't mean you will make a good politician.
You get into it to serve your community.
Vancouverites we spoke to said that journalists have skills they think could be transferable.
They use research skills to really investigate what they're talking about.
Although this man would want to know more about policies, he thinks it's a positive.
A plus in the plus or minus column.
Orr and Mesner may belong to different parties, but they agree on the importance of holding government accountable.
I'm going to be, fully transparent and reporting back to the people.
This Vancouver by-election has broken voter turnout records, and Orr is confident he will be making the transition from blogger to councillor. If the vote goes his way on Saturday, Orr will be ready to make a difference in a different way.
I will use my office as a vehicle to listen to people.
I'm Philomena Okolo for the Langara Voice.
Advance voting for Saturday's by-election is up a whopping 84% over the last one in 2017, which the city called, quote, a powerful testament to voter engagement. 13 candidates have stepped forward to fill 2 vacant city council seats, and 3 candidates in particular have been getting a lot of attention. ABC candidates Ralph Kaisers and Jamie Stein have been in the news thanks to police union head Kaisers using police officers' personal emails to ask them for votes. Then someone recorded Stein wondering out loud if running with Kaisers was the biggest mistake of his life. Sean Orr of the Coalition of Progressive Electors has been endorsed by author Gabor Mate, and former city councillor Jean Swanson says Orr, a writer and dishwasher, will cause a ruckus on city council. Other notable candidates include independent Karen Litsky, who has come under fire for retweeting social media posts condoning residential school denialism. Green candidate Annette Riley is gunning to join fellow party member Pete Fry on council. And Team's Colleen Hardwick hopes to regain the council seat she gave up to run for mayor in 2022. The successful candidates will join Fry, the 6-member ABC caucus, and former ABC councillor Rebecca Bly, who was ejected from the party by Mayor Ken Sim in February after she questioned his decision to pause the build of supportive housing. When the results of Saturday's by-election officially come in, we'll find out whether or not voters believe Vancouver is a better city under ABC. I'm Coralie Nickars for the Langara Voice.
Coming up after the break, local animal rescue charities say a recent animal welfare grant doesn't make a dent in their funding needs. The city recently distributed the Animal Welfare Grant, giving $15,000 to 3 organizations. Milena Back speaks to 2 recipients of the grant who say they need more.
25 years ago, there were many more of these furry felines free in the streets of Vancouver.
At that time, there were thousands of feral cats in Vancouver. Some yards had 50 cats in them. It was unbelievable.
The Vancouver Orphan Kitten Rescue Association, or VOCRA, is a recipient of Vancouver's Animal Welfare Grant.
This year we got $2,600, I believe, for the spaying and neutering of only 6 cats. So that's rather disappointing.
VOCRA took 219 cats off the streets of Vancouver in 2024 with intake fees of $340 per cat.
If you go $340 is for the intake fee times 219 cats, that's $82,000.
Sorosky worries that $500 to spay or neuter a cat is expensive for those with low incomes and it isn't getting done.
It's going to be an apocalypse happening all over again, and if we don't do this work for the city, cats are going to be born outside, they're going to become feral colonies, and the city's going to be overwhelmed with cats again.
City Councillor Pete Fry is putting forward a motion on April 16th to ask staff to provide considerations for funding of feline control services, to add feline control services into the animal control bylaws, and also thank VOCRA formally for its service. Rabbitats also received the grant, and it too needs more money.
Again, we appreciate the City of Vancouver for helping, but we really need more. So Vancouver is still at risk of being overrun by abandoned rabbits and their feral offspring.
Sedman said Rabbitats is over capacity. She'd like to see rabbits getting adopted in groups of as many as 8, 10, or 20. The charity's work involves education.
And showing them how to build small micro sanctuaries, and they can keep bunnies very happily and easily.
With both organizations struggling to control animal populations with limited funds, we can only hope that more funding will come their way. Milena Back for the Langara Voice.
In light of the college's recent cuts to language classes, Rose Leung reports on how one Spanish class advocates for the importance of language and culture in Vancouver.
Students in Dolores Gambrodes's Spanish class are reflecting on the importance of the language in the widespread Spanish-speaking community in Vancouver.
We received notice that we are losing quite a few Spanish sections. Students are angry. Students are disappointed. Students are sad. Students are worried. Students are frustrated.
One of Gambrodes's students, Claire Patterson, says that language cuts are happening all over the Lower Mainland.
VCC is one of the most drastic changes at the moment. They kind of cut a lot of their ELL English learning programs. And there's KPU, there's a reduction in funding, Langara obviously. And yeah, it's really unfortunate. It's like impacting a lot of newcomers to Canada. That makes me really upset. Yeah, really angry actually.
Isabel Young, a student and a registered nurse, says Spanish has helped her overcome language barriers with her patients.
Vancouver is a very multicultural city. So we are serving people from all over the world and also with different background every day. With people being bilingual or trilingual, it's definitely beneficial for the patients. Statistic Canada is seeing that there are actually an increasing number of Spanish immigrants to this city. So having this language alive is very crucial to welcome people from all over the world.
Rose Lang, The Voice.
In exciting news for the campus, the college is hosting its very first Langara Fest today. Amber Muniz is on the scene as the college prepares.
I'm here at Langara Fest in A building where different departments have booths set up to give information to prospective students. Langara is hosting the first ever Langara Fest on campus, promoting over 150 programs to prospective students.
Oh, we're more than thrilled. Like, it's just outstanding. Everybody worked so hard on it. Just the day turned out to be perfect. Having so much energy on campus and just people really involved, we're thrilled.
It's a flurry of activity on campus while everyone prepares for the event. It will feature information sessions, campus tours, and showcases from many Langara departments.
We've allowed the faculty free range as well to do whatever they want to do to showcase their areas.
Programs like geography have used this opportunity to showcase their research by displaying a term project.
Our work this semester essentially entailed researching different strategies for placemaking.
Attendees of the event will receive a swag bag and free food from the food trucks. They will also get a chance to get a glimpse of the Langara experience by meeting their future teachers and learning space.
We are here to let students know
that in interdisciplinary studies we have possibly the most interactive and progressive teaching methods.
The Langara Fest Fun doesn't end after tonight, with the event expected to become an annual occurrence.
We have almost 2,000 registrants for tonight, so it's going to be a big night, and we're looking forward to welcoming everyone.
Amber Monez, The Voice.
We will be right back after this quick break with some spring in our step as we head down to Stanley Park.
As many show disappointment that the Stanley Park train will not be in operation for the popular Easter train event, Mark Boland explores the many things that the park still has to offer.
Unfortunately, the famous Stanley Park Railway is closed. They are attempting to repair old engines to meet regulatory requirements. As of right now, there are no clear solutions. However, with the return of the blue heron and beavers trouting about at Devonian Lagoon, there is no shortage of things to see. You just might have to get by on bike. Another place you can enjoy beavers is Beaver Lake Trail, where you can take a stroll and enjoy the diverse wildlife and take a look at the ducks. The Stanley Park Heron Colony is celebrating over 25 years. There are over 50 herons and over 30 nests. If you're interested in checking out some of these herons, come to the tennis courts by the Stanley Park Brewing Company. One of the herons told me he's a fan of Roger Federer. If you're interested in finding out more information about the herons and other wildlife at Stanley Park, you can come to the Stanley Park Ecology Society. Also, you can even adopt a heron's nest and get updates on their well-being. Upon visiting Stanley Park, check out the variety of gardens it has to offer, such as the rhododendron, rock, rose, or Shakespeare garden. Here's what people had to say about their experience at Stanley Park.
Oh, well, we're kind of just strolling around Vancouver as, as visitors here. We're just kind of like strolling and like looking around the nice scenery around Vancouver. It's nice weather.
Yeah, I think the giant trees are amazing, and the background of the mountain, and that's it's hard to put into words.
I like all the winding trails. In the middle, there's a bunch of natural art installations that people have built, and if you kind of start just going off on smaller little trails, you'll find these really cool natural installments and things that people have done.
Stanley Park isn't the only place you can see the ecological wonders of Vancouver. You can check out Queen Elizabeth Park in Bloedel to see some birds, or you can go to the Van Dusen Botanical Gardens and check out some flowers. I'm going to go take a dip. Anyway, Mark Boland, The Voice.
If you're getting tired of the political circus, why don't you take a break and enjoy the sun with a real one? We now go to our weatherman, Rick Good, for more.
Thanks, Sage. I'm here at the Lansdowne Mall where the annual Spring Circus has popped up, with events and a carnival running all week and the weekend. They have snacks, performers, and rides for all ages. The event is happening between now and April 13th, and the weather this weekend certainly permits. Today is sunny with highs of 12, and Friday will be partially cloudy with highs of 15. The weather is expected to hold up until showers starting on Sunday. Bring your friends and family to have some fun this weekend because rain is expected throughout next week. That's all for me. Now back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Rick. And thanks to everyone for joining us for today's broadcast. Signing off, I'm Hazel Love.
And I'm Sage Smith. Have a great weekend.